DAF, or Diversity Awareness Forums, is a program at Country Day that allows for large open forums based around the diversity clubs at school.
We have a lot of different diversity awareness clubs, and what we get to do is we get to create forums on topics that we want to educate the student body on.
When we're not socially distanced, students offer lunch forums on topics of interest to their club.
You get to have a conversation, you get to discuss, you get to hear what your peers think, and we always challenge our peers to really be authentic in their answers.
Leaders of the club usually have a PowerPoint and present, and students and faculty come together and discuss the various topics. It's really fun.
Hello, my name is Adam Ogden. I'm a senior and I represent PRISM, which stands for Promoting Rights, Inclusion, and Safety Among Sexual Minorities. PRISM is dedicated to creating a safe space on campus for students who are either allies or questioning their gender or their sexuality to come together and sort of discuss topics relating to that, as well as discuss current global events that are impacting the lives of queer and gender nonconforming people around the world.
So my name is Anjali Kapadia. The DAF club that I represent is Asian Affinity. Asian Affinity really works to promote Asian heritage and educate our student population on what it means to be an Asian, some of the stereotypes associated with it. But honestly, what we have started to do as a club is we really are trying to say, how can we educate, but also how can we act? So we try to work with various community organizations. We really are trying to bridge that gap between education, but also thinking globally and then acting locally.
Hey, I'm Lila Peck, and I'm one of the leaders of Interfaith on campus. So Interfaith Club is all about exploring religion, especially in regards to current events and politics. So a lot of our forums that we have are about different things in the news and how that relates to religion or just religion in general.
My name is Miliani Smith, and I am the president of BSU, which stands for Black Student Union. And my club is for the Black students on Country Day's campus, and it's also for any allies who want to come to the meeting and just hear what the Black students have to say and our experiences and have candid conversations.
My name is Dr. Waples, and I'm the club sponsor for PRISM, Promoting Respect, Inclusion, and Safety for Sexual Minorities, and I'm one of the diversity coordinators for the upper school. So with the upper school, I work with Ms. Keene and also with Ms. Hutchinson and Mr. Wise to think about student experience with diversity in all aspects of the school. What was DAF like before the pandemic? It was not socially distanced. In fact, I think that's one of the things that's most important and best about DAF is it's people together talking about what's most important to them.
DAF is very different pre and post pandemic.
Every week you would have maybe 2 to 3 DAFs, which were during lunch, and you'd grab your lunch and then head to the dance room or various rooms on campus, and you'd all sit down and talk and maybe do activities.
Obviously, you could see everyone, you were in the same room, you could see people's reactions, and I feel like that was definitely part of the experience.
This year that's been a little different because of everything that's changed. So each club only has one forum that they do, and that's usually through Teams or Zoom.
Post-pandemic, DAF consists of a lot more virtual meetings.
The virtual meetings still keep students engaged because we're able to use various softwares such as Nearpod, and so students can actually follow along in our PowerPoint, and we have the accessibility and capability to post discussion questions and put things on a collaboration board.
We still have the need for the conversation. We don't have the same opportunity for the conversation, so we're using technology to do the best we can with Zoom and Teams and sharing information and getting responses, both in real time and after the fact.
My favorite thing about DAF is the people that I get to interact with, but also the idea that DAF gives me a platform to make my voice heard, but also to educate people on what the various voices in our community and in our world. I think the idea that the world is bigger than our Country Day bubble, I think that sometimes that message isn't conveyed in the best way, and I think DAF gives us an opportunity to do that, and I really, really do appreciate that. That's what I love about DAF. I've learned so much about different cultures, languages.
My favorite thing about DAF is probably the way that when I see the other leaders presenting, I feel so empowered by them and so excited, and I think it's really fun and really just, it makes me feel so happy to hear these things that I haven't even thought about and kind of challenging myself to explore different perspectives, and also to see my friends do that with me, and to see my friends lead these discussions and be so educated and excited to share their viewpoint.
My favorite thing about DAF is students talking to each other. They're talking about the things that matter, and that's way more important than what the grown-ups have to say.
So my favorite part of DAF is definitely the preparation that goes into it. I think like talking to your other like exec members about like what are you guys going to present about, asking like the club members like what do you guys think would be interesting. Another really not necessarily important but just fun part of DAF is like before the pandemic, when like we'd be like in the dance room before like everyone would come in, all like the other like club exec members would like come in and like kind of like give a pep talk to the people who were about to present, or just like be in the same room like listening to music. And yeah, so that was just a really fun part as well, just extra.
I personally definitely think that my favorite thing about DAF is the community aspect. A lot of my closest friends are people that I have met doing DAF and leading DAF forums. My two club advisors are Miss Lenig and Waples. And they are both fantastic, and they're both very active in our club and always taking an interest in what we're trying to do, what we are doing. They always are there to show up for meetings and things like that. And it just makes me realize how grateful I am to have people like that who care about diversity work and care about us as students and what we're trying to accomplish here.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion work, or DEI work at Country Day is really important. As it says in the name, DEI is not only about having diverse people and diverse perspectives on our campus, but also about equity and inclusion. And I think DAF really focuses on that inclusion part as we have open conversations.
I think it's in those conversations where you have multiple perspectives represented, multiple backgrounds represented, that you really have the most rich conversations and the most rich education. That's one of the reasons why DAF is so important and so incredible.
These topics are sometimes hard for people to openly discuss, especially if you don't belong to one of these groups and you don't have a pre-existing education or knowledge of it. You might be more reluctant to bring it up, or you might be afraid to ask a question. Well, DAF provides a space for students to ask those questions without any fear of being judged.
It's easy, and even for me, to get stuck in the bubble of this is what the world looks like. And so diversity and equity and inclusion work is saying, no, our perspective is only one. You have a perspective, it is valuable, but there are also many other perspectives. At a school like Country Day, it's so important because a lot of us come from a lot of privilege, and I'm not generalizing to all of us, but a lot of us do. And so it's important to recognize that and say, okay, now I want to make an impact. How am I going to make that impact?
I think that students should come to DAF meetings because it's so important to try to expand your perspective, and it's so important to feel uncomfortable.
Country Day students should come to the diversity awareness forums to step out of their comfort zone and to be uncomfortable. I think the best way to learn from other people's experience and to get another perspective is to be uncomfortable and to go to a DAF that you're unaware about.
There's always something new you're going to learn in a DAF. You're going to get to hear various perspectives. Why wouldn't you?
I just wanted to take a second to give a closing remark to specifically the freshmen. I know that you guys have very little idea of what DAF normally looks like, but I encourage you to approach it both this year and then especially next year and the years following with an open mind, so that you can see how things perhaps used to be done and how we adjusted, and maybe we can all come out smarter and more educated than before.
We're all linked through humanity, and I think DAFs is just a place where we get to recognize that and get to say, the world is bigger than me. I should be excited every day because there's so much to do, there's so much to learn, and there's so many great people to meet.
I think that DAF is one of the most special things about Country Day, and I think it really enriches the experience for both the students and the faculty.
Why should Country Day students come to DAF meetings? Because they're fun, because they're important, because they're interesting, and because you have something to share as well as something to gain.
Come to DAF. Come to DAF. Come to DAF.